All right, guys, we are here with the very talented Doug Jones. You know him from things like Hocus Pocus, Hocus Pocus 2, Star Trek Discovery, Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, Hellboy, The Shape of Water, and many other things. Doug, thank you for coming on.
No, well, thank you. That's a lovely introduction. I might have trouble living up to, but thank you.
Yeah, no, you've had a very long career of playing, I want to say mostly characters that don't say a lot of words, but I could be wrong. Is that true or not true?
That I have played a lot of characters that don't speak verbal dialogue, but I've also played an equal amount of characters that do. Yeah, it's a lot of the characters that I'm known for are covered in rubber bits and oftentimes making noises and maybe not having verbal dialogue, but a lot of them do have lots of dialogue, like Abe Sapien from the Hellboy movies or Saru from Star Trek Discovery. I talk a lot on that show.
So for a lot of people that don't know, how did you get your start then? Because obviously you didn't start as a creature actor or what have you.
Yeah, no, I did not set out to be monsters.
Okay.
There are many actors who really want to do that. My childhood dream was to be a goofy guy on a sitcom. If I could be a funny next door neighbor, come in, or an office mate that leans over the cubicle and says something funny and goes away. That's all I really ever aspired to. And being 6'3" and 135 pounds, and having some mime experience from college, being able to put my legs behind my head, making me flexible, and body language with the mime and the tall, skinny build with a bony face and a long, skinny neck. That just kind of lent itself really well to the creature effects world. And once those people got a hold of me, my career took a left turn that I wasn't expecting.
So I know on certain resumes it says like special skills. So mime is obviously one of them.
Right.
What else do you have on that list?
Contortionist.
Okay.
I forget. It's been a while since I've had the special skills on a resume. It's been a while since I've had a resume, a paper one in hand, because everything's so digital now.
Right.
And people, when I'm being cast for something now, they just kind of look me up on IMDb and go, no, or whatever. So it's been a while since I've had to like sell my skills. Or even make some up like we used to do back in the day. Yes, of course I can horseback.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and then you're spending like thousands of dollars in horseback riding routes since the day before. Yeah,
right. But day before you have to do it.
Right. So with that said, is there things that you, once you started getting going, it was you're that guy?
It has thankfully gotten to that point because I didn't enjoy the audition process. And no actor I think feels good auditioning really always. I mean, there's some that really thrive at it, but usually when I was auditioning, I did my best work in the car on the way home. When you think about it afterwards, like, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that. That would have been funnier or whatever. So once I started getting more and more work as a monster in a movie here and there, the creature effects people that create the looks on me, they would be the ones to refer me for the next job and the next job, because a film or TV show might come to them saying, hey, here's the design of a creature we'd like, or here's the idea, and then the creature shop would design it. And maybe if it was a tall, thin something alien or animal man hybrid, someone at the shop might be like, I've worked with Doug Jones, that might be the guy you want for this. And so the referral would come as a phone call at home to me, just like kind of through the back door of casting, instead of through a casting director. I'm going and tap dancing and auditioning for it. It might just be a referral, like, we got the guy. And producers, directors who they often trust their creature effects people that they've hired. You guys know better than we do. If you trust this guy, we do too. That's how I got started, really. And then once directors and producers got to know me better through all these projects, now that they might think of me and come looking for me as well. So it's been a lovely snowball effect over the years.
What's the one job you've done that people are surprised you're in?
But there's so many of them. When I do the convention circuit, I do lots of conventions. When they see all the pictures out on a table of all the characters I've played, I often get like, that was you. And for most of them, the Silver Surfer that you mentioned earlier, that seems to surprise people a lot, because he was so stoic and heroic and postured and muscly and everything's I'm not. So,
Right.
so
Right.
when they see it, they're like, that was you?
Right.
Yes, it
That
was.
today's standards, being so popular with superhero movies, when you were working on the Silver Surfer, did you guys know what you guys were doing back in the day, or was it you just making it to make it, and then hopefully the box office shows?
Right. Well, when I did Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, that was a sequel to a
Right.
great successful first movie. So they kind of
Mhm.
did know what they were doing by that time. And I had also done I'd done the first Hellboy movie right before that as well.
Right.
So I was kind of like getting oiled up to the superhero world, and I'd also done a small supporting role in Batman Returns years before that.
Right.
Also, I'd done a silly thing in Mystery Men, a spoof of
Yeah.
comic book movies.
That was a good
And
movie.
also, I'd done one of the Ripper kangaroo characters in Tank Girl, which is a British comic book made into a film. So
Okay.
I dipped my toe in the comic book world quite a bit before this. And coming into this franchise, that was at Fox Studios before Marvel became a studio of its own.
Right.
And it was it had already been tried and tested, and coming back, it was I was the new kid in the family for sure as the Silver Surfer. But I loved working with Jessica Alba and Chris Evans, and I had Chris Evans by the neck. So if
Right.
anyone thinks that, I kicked Captain America's ass before he was Captain America. Okay.
Right. That was before motion capture, correct?
No, motion capture was happening at that time. That
Okay.
technology was there. And this is a misconception about that movie. It looked rather CG-ish, the Silver Surfer did.
Right.
I was in a rubber makeup costume that had been form fitted and sculpted to my very body and face.
Right.
Every day. I walked out of a makeup trailer looking like the Silver Surfer every day. So they did do a CG coating over me in post production.
Mm-hmm.
But where you'll see what my sculpture actually looked like when the Silver Surfer was powered down and lost his was separated from his surfboard, which is not comic book lore, but that the movie had my power coming from the board, whatever. But I was tarnished and kind of like lost that sheen coating. That
Right.
was just me in the makeup and costume without the CG effects over it. So that gives you a better look of what the sculpture and what the creature effects artist did on me every day.
Right. You played one of the standout thug roles in Batman Returns, aka the Thin Clown.
Yes.
This Burton sequel has aged even better than the original, despite it being a Christmas film. How do you feel about the evolution of the Batman franchise, and what was it like working with Tim Burton?
I hear so many people tell me that Batman Returns is their favorite of all Batman movies ever, and it does have a high rotation of TV play and people clicking on it to stream it. So that's really, really sweet to hear. I think it has the right. Tim Burton had the right. I love Tim Burton as a director, and working with him was just like you were in the presence of a genius. It was obvious. He had the right whimsical comic book, page turning when you're a kid looking at a comic book kind of
Right.
feel and vibe for those movies. The Batman took a darker turn. The more recent Batman movies are great.
Right.
And well executed, but in a darker kind of more serious kind of way that I kind of prefer the comic book whimsy myself.
Talked about Tim Burton being whimsical. Obviously, you are Billy Butcherson for both Hocus Pocus and Hocus Pocus 2. Hocus Pocus 1 was famously directed by Kenny Ortega. He's known for working with people like Michael Jackson and great heavy hitters out there. What was it like working on Hocus Pocus and working with Kenny Ortega?
Oh, I could go on forever about this. Hocus Pocus was early in my career. It was just after Batman Returns. Mm-hmm. And it was my first time getting my name in the main titles of any movie. And to have like a strong supporting role that was like memorable and quirky and funny and it was magical. I was a huge fan of Bette Midler's, so to be able to play her ex-boyfriend from 300 years, it was like, you've got to be kidding me. And Kenny Ortega as a director with his background as a dance choreographer,
Right.
and then also as a solid movie director as well. He could combine. He was the dream director for me to work with, especially in the role of Billy Butcherson. Very physical, very movement oriented. Kenny loves shapes and movement, and so he let me play on film. The bigger the better.
Right.
And that's rare for a director to be able to give you that kind of freedom.
Right.
And then moving into Hocus Pocus 2, 29 years later, I don't know the backstory or where of how we came up with it, why he didn't direct the second one, why Ann Fletcher did.
Right.
But Ann Fletcher is also a dreamy director to work with, also has a dance choreography background, and also has a slew of successful movies, a lot of them comedies. So she had a real rhythm with comedic timing, and a real also paid close attention to shapes and colors and movement. So it was really nice to have that same vibe in both movies with two completely different directors.
You talk a lot about shapes. When you get a role, obviously they give you a character breakdown. You get to, especially if you're playing like a monster, you get a picture or something like that. How much of it is prep work on your end? Like how much of it is you before you're on set in the costume, is you like weeks before coming up with the character and the backstory? How much of that is you and how much of that is from the director and the page?
It is a collaborative effort for sure.
Okay.
First thing when I'm offered a role like that, is I like to look at the conceptual art. What is this creature going to even look like? Or, what are my enhancements? What are my limitations? I get all that from a visual. I'll read a script. The script has everything in it that you really need. As far as like backstory information, whatever, the writer really, you can find out their intention. How do you play into the story? How do you interact with other characters? Okay, I got that from a script. Then I like to have a sit down chat with a director if I have the luxury of that time. That's where I can find out the director's vision of how turning that script into film. How is that going to happen? What quirks and idiosyncrasies and nuances would you like to see this character have? I'll get that information. I'll take all of that into a dance studio with mirrors and a big wooden floor, and I will walk back and forth, finding his posture, finding his physical rhythms, anything the script calls for. Do I have to lunge, jump, crawl? What do I have to do? I try to find out what that looks like. What's the home position for him? How does he reach out from that home position? All those things. Then you have to transform that into the makeup testing process. Now the pieces are being made from that conceptual art and being put on you in test fittings and screen tests, and then you find out, well, how everything I've come up with, will can I carry that through now that I'm wearing the design? So, I've said this many times before, but if I practice something up here like this, and the suit only lets me do this, well, then I have to kind of alter, that it also helps inform the performance, what the creature designers have come up with. Right. So once we get to set, there's been weeks of pre-work done ahead of time. Yes.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. But I think any actor taking on any role has some prep work to do to investigate who this character is and why they do what they do.
What would you think is the hardest role you've played? Not like heavy, like what's the most heaviest role you've done?
Oh gosh, I've done a lot of heavy. I've played lots of demons in human form.
Right.
Even without rubber makeup on, just like somehow this face lends itself well to like, I'm the devil. I don't know, not my fave, but I've done it. But I think, in a movie like Pan's Labyrinth or The Shape of Water, those are, of course, that opens up a whole world of Guillermo del Toro in my association with him over the past 25 years. Right. Those are two of the 6 films we've done together that really stand out for me as having artistic and critical weight to them, also having cinematic wonder to them. Right. And both have are stories that have some hope at the end, that lead you to a place of hope, but you have to go through some dark places to get there. So the fawn character from Pan's Labyrinth, that I'm kind of guiding this young woman through her growth process. helping her find out who she is, helping her find her voice, finding her place. And you really trust him all the way. That was nice to play these two layers of like, can you trust me? Can you not? I don't know. And at the end, you find out I'm a good guy.
Right.
And then in The Shape of Water, I'm a monster from the wild who happens to have quite a big heart and a capacity to have a romance with a young cleaning lady.
Right.
You know, yeah, you don't see. I didn't see that coming when I signed up to be an actor many years ago.
Exactly.
So those are. And both of those movies also took me on a ride through award season and so much press that kind of started marrying this face to the rest of my career. So those projects have been very good to me overall, you know.
Is there anything on your actor bucket list you haven't done?
You know, if you'd asked me this a few years ago, I would have said, yes, I still want to play a classic vampire named Nosferatu. But I have done that now. It's not out yet. That's why it's still part of this answer. Is that no one's seen it yet? So we've completed Nosferatu with me as Count Orlok, aka Nosferatu. That was my bucket list character, and so now what's left is Dougie as a human. I would like to play more. Okay, here's the ideal role, Cory, and it has nothing to do with the rest of my resume at all. I want to play an aged dad in a Hallmark Christmas movie, giving some sound advice to my grown daughter about her relationships while I'm holding a cup of cocoa and wearing a Christmas sweater. There.
Hey, there you go.
Boom.
There you go. So you also have been on things like the 90s comedic super hit In Living Color. What was that like? And, you know, you got to work with actors like Jamie Foxx, Jim Carrey, forget the fly girl's name. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue too.
Oh,
the famous
fly girl, Jennifer Lopez.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. I think I did 3 episodes of In Living Color. One started as a casting, just a regular casting. They came to my agent because they're looking for a mime. And that was a Homie the Clown sketch with Damon Wayans. And a mime meets Homie the Clown in a park. And I ended up getting beaten over the head and sent on my way. So I was in heaven working in front of a live audience. That's the closest to a theater experience, a live theater experience that I'm going to get now is doing, sitcoms in front of a live audience or sketch comedy shows like that. Such a great energy. And Damon Wayans was hilarious to work with. And then I came back around again because I could put my legs behind my head. They were looking for a contortionist for a Jim Carrey sketch. He played a recurring character called Vera de Milo, which was this East German woman that didn't hide, and he didn't hide his masculinity at all. It was very, very funny. And he talked like this. It was. Yeah. So I ended up in a sketch where he was doing Vera's rap. So Jim Carrey was rapping about how Vera needs a buff neck man because she can destroy any man that she meets. And so I was in a scene where I ended up tangled up it was so embarrassing. I was wearing nothing but silk boxer shorts and he was wearing a teddy and we were wrestling on a bed with a zebra skin on it. I got to thinking my mother will be so ashamed if she sees this. And because we worked well together, they had me come back again for another Jim Carrey sketch. He played another recurring character called Background Guy. And there would always, that was a sketch that they would do where they would have an interview going on in the foreground and he'd be in the background kind of doing this. So I was, there was a forest ranger being interviewed by a local TV station in the boring interview. And in the background, Jim Carrey's a bird watcher and he starts waving. It's out in a forest. And then I, dressed up as a Yeti, come through chasing Jim Carrey back and forth in the background. And we ended up having quite a tete-a-tete back there. It was hilarious fun. So yeah, that was early on in my career. I was there in the early 90s. Yeah.
I have a question about Men in Black 2. My friend wanted to know if it was true or false that your cameo in Men in Black 2 was actually a reference to a rock and roll legend, Joey Ramone.
That is correct. My name in the movie was Joey in the credits. And I was one of the male workers in the post office scene where where Will Smith is coming to collect Tommy Lee Jones and remind him who he is because he had his memory erased and he's working at the post office now. Like, no, you're good with aliens. You're working with them right now. And then we all reveal ourselves to be aliens in the post office. Well, I had bangs and a long hair, and they had resculpted my face with prosthetics to look like Joey Ramone, big sunglasses. Unfortunately, they didn't push that narrative too far, because while we were filming, Joey Ramone actually passed away. The real Joey Ramone passed away during our filming time. So they just called me Joey and left it at that, and let you figure it out later. A lot of people thought I looked like Howard Stern, which I guess I could see that too, but you know.
Well, you've had a very extensive career. Obviously Hocus Pocus 2, Halloween is right around the corner.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about Hocus Pocus 2. You've said in interviews, the moths in Hocus Pocus 1. How did that come about? Like, what was hey, by the way, we want to put these in your mouth, and you were like, okay. Or was it more like, we want to try this bit, do you want to do it?
Yeah, no, it was kind of like, you know, when you're putting together a comedic movie like that, and here this guy's been dead for 300 years, his mouth has been sewn shut, he cuts it open, what would come out before he can speak? Right. Well, probably dust and moths, because he's been, my head's come off already twice during the film before this, or once before this and once after this. Right. My fingers have been came off in a manhole cover, so you can tell I'm strung together with dust. So moths might like that environment to live in. So it all made perfect sense. So when slicing the stitches open and then coughing out and before I bark, you know, all my pent up anger at Winifred, yeah, they was a very meticulously engineered process to get dust and moths to actually fly out of my mouth. And this is before CG is what it is today. This is like 1992, 93, we're filming this. So, it was to have the practical effect was that's what we did. So it required a retainer that went over my own teeth that had a latex sheath that covered the inside of my mouth, because not only to protect me from moths going down my throat, but also moths will not fly if they are even a little bit moist. And so we had a moth specialist on set with us that was informing us of this. So they had to concoct this this protection for them to stay dry in my mouth until it was time for them to fly out. Also in there was a little cup on the roof of my mouth, a fiberglass cup with holes at the back of it that contained purified dust, so that I could go and then have that fly out in a cloud with the moths going through it. Right. So it was they had to get everything running ahead of time because the moths could not be in there for very long. So that means camera rolls, sound rolls, everybody's in place, ready to go. And then the last thing is to put the moths in my mouth, and then to lightly tack down those stitches so that I can go and pop them right back open again. Right. So, and of course, it's a legendary story now, but the first take didn't go so well because right as soon as we got all that in place, a light exploded. And we had, so cameras still rolling, and they're like, wait, we got to fix this. Oh, no. So I had to replace a light, get ladders out. And I'm sitting there like, I could feel the water table, you know, rising, and like, oh, this isn't going to end well. So sure enough, they got it rolling again, and I cut this open, and out comes mud with moths kind of going, you know, on a string of mud out of my mouth. No, but we got it all cleaned up, all reset. We got it in take 2.
See, those are the things that, you know, I personally find fascinating about films, is like nothing's perfect, and you don't see the outtakes or the bloopers or because I know for a fact that like 90% of movie making is standing around waiting for a setup. So it's interesting to see like for example, Hocus Pocus being so whimsical and magical, and this was shot here, this was shot there, this lighting subs here. And at the end of the day, it took that one shot could take 8, 9, 10 hours, which is remarkably crazy.
Right. Well, there's a funny saying. When I started acting, I was on a movie set as a background player, as an extra, and someone said, "You're paid to wait. The acting you throw in for free." Got it.
Is there any tips you could give any young performer, whether it be mime, acting, singing, dancing, what would you give them?
Oh gosh. This is the hardest question for any of us to answer, is like, what is a 2-sentence pearl of wisdom that I can leave
Right.
you with? I
Yeah,
don't know what
exactly.
that is. I wish I knew what that was. I believe as an actor, knowing your type is extremely important. If I tried to market myself as a romantic leading man, it would not have worked for me. I knew I had to be funny or scary because I'm a character, goofy looking actor. Great,
Right.
got it. And that's what my career has been. Also, I think being good at what you do before you try to sell it. So I get reached out, people reach out to me on social media now all the time because that's a platform. All those platforms are like, oh, we have access to people in movies now. So I do get messages from random people saying like, hey, I want to do what you do. Got any tips? Should I just start like auditioning or what? And like, oh gosh, I'm like, no. You really, that would be like a doctor or that would be like a guy walking into a hospital saying, I want to be a doctor. Do I just like sign up somewhere here? How do we do that?
Exactly.
You really need to know how to be a doctor before you can do that. So I would say the same thing for acting or any profession. Just be good at what you do before you try to sell it. If that means, and every actor is different. There's a lot of psychology that goes into our art form because we're playing other people. We have to tap into things. So we all are motivated and inspired by something different. There's not one technique that works for every actor because we're all different. We're all built different. We all have different psychological backgrounds and makeups. So if you're a good class taker and you learn a lot from a great instructor or coach, great. If you are a life lesson person and you get a lot of things from interacting with people as a barista at a Starbucks, great. If you're great at creating your own content and you have a great YouTube channel and you're making funny, silly things that really takes off and you really, and you're really projecting a great sellable character, great. There's many different avenues and ways to get there now. Just be good at it before you try to sell it.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Like I said, Halloween's coming around the corner and you just did Hocus Pocus 2. Is there any other character in your repertoire that you would have liked? They said, hey, we're going to give you a sequel. What would it be and why?
Oh, I know. This is again, playing Billy Butcherson again in a sequel was my dream since 29 years ago. I've been asked many times in many interviews, is there any one character you'd like to do again? It was Billy Butcherson. I wanted to have, now that I've done that, it's like, oh gosh, I don't know. I would love to continue. It would have been great if Ron Perlman, Selma Blair, and I could have come back as Hellboy, Liz Sherman, and Abe Sapien in a Hellboy 3.
Yeah,
we did get to do a sequel, but it was kind of unfinished and needed a part 3. And the hopes and dreams of that don't seem quite as possible anymore. But
right.
But would we like to? Of course. When I played the Silver Surfer, since we talked about him before, I did have a 3-picture deal when I went into that sequel. So they did have plans to spin me off and do have his own franchise, his own backstory, his own solo movie. And then that never happened. That the terms, I think it had a 5-year term on that contract, so that's long gone.
Right.
So and again, as I age, I don't know if I really need to be an action hero anymore.
Right.
Again, I'm loving things like now, like being on What We Do in the Shadows as Baron Afanas, beginning to do something silly, funny where you get to go to work and giggle all day.
Right.
That's been dreamy for me. If What We Do in the Shadows keeps having me back again and again, that something like that is very satisfying.
You obviously you are on Star Trek Discovery with a Broadway heavyweight, Anthony Rapp. You did Hocus Pocus with a Broadway heavyweight, Bette Midler. What's it like working with those two actors who are primarily known for Broadway and on the stage?
You're in the presence of greatness. People who have that kind of stage presence and understand how to work an audience. When the camera gets in front of them, they can translate that magic into the lens as well. It's really, really fun to be around and watch. Bette Midler, just I had a moment on Hocus Pocus 2 while filming. Now, I'd already known her from before, but we hadn't kept in touch for 29 years really. I did help out with a charity function that she was doing for her New York restoration project, like the year before, in 2020. I dressed up as Billy Butcherson again for an online charity event she was having for it. But then while filming Hocus Pocus 2, it was kind of cool because a lot of life and career had happened for me in the meantime, and I felt kind of more like a peer of hers, even though I'm still a slobbering fan. And there was one moment one day where we were out in the forest. Actually, it was an interior soundstage. They did a beautiful set building the forest set. And she started between camera setups and between takes of a scene, she started singing something from Broadway. It's a song I can't remember to this day, but she started singing it and was swinging back and forth just to fill some time. So I stepped up to her and started swinging back and forth with her. I couldn't join her because I didn't know the song. And then she starts dancing with me while singing this song from Broadway. And I'm like, I could die happy right now if everything else fell apart. This is a moment to go out on. Anthony Rapp, the comedic thing there is that he is such a brilliant vocalist and singer. And so is Wilson Cruz, by the way, he plays Dr. Culber on our show on Star Trek Discovery. With two powerhouse singers like that in the cast, I'm the only one who has sung on camera twice now. And it's like, wait a second. That doesn't make it. And he said, but I did a funeral song in my Kelpian language for Ariam, one of our characters who left us in season 2. And then I sang again to a lullaby to comfort a Kelpian that was in distress in season 3. And so both times singing it was very difficult to do lyrics in a language that has been made up on the spot.
Right.
And then to sing, while my castmates are present watching me, and it's like, oh gosh, oh, they're so good. And I'm a shower singer, and I think I'm great in the shower, but no one's ever paid Broadway money to come see me sing in the shower.
Obviously your Star Trek Discovery is still going. Is there any other projects you got coming up?
Right. Yeah. See, we're currently filming season 5 of Star Trek Discovery right now. I'm in Toronto filming that right now. And also season 5 of What We Do in the Shadows is also going, and the Baron will be returning there. So other than that, I did a couple of indie films that I did that are not out yet. Also in the dark vein. One was called The Knocking, and I'm the one doing the knocking. And I think the title might have changed to Don't Open the Door or something like that. I have to look at IMDb and see where it's at now. And another one that's not out yet is called The Demon Detective. And I am one of the demons that this fellow is detecting. So great fun. And also, but then on a lighter, more family-friendly note, there's a new anthology show called Destination Heaven on a streaming service called PureFlix, which is a division of Sony. And this Destination Heaven will be coming out, I believe, in March of 2023. And there's an episode dedicated to my character, who is a used car salesman, just a guy, no rubber makeup on my face. Wow. And so I had a great time with that. It was comedic, but very heartwarming as well. So that should be coming on PureFlix, Destination Heaven. My episode is called I Will Follow Him. There you go.
And obviously, for people that don't know where to find you,
you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, Tumblr, and Snapchat. If you look for Actor Doug Jones, same screen name on all platforms.
No underscore, no dashes, nothing like that.
Actor Doug Jones, all run together.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me and finding me a worthy subject.